Whose lives are about to get busier this next week? Anybody? Anybody's lives? All right. We got school starting. We've got teachers that are going back, bus drivers, school nurses, all that. Secretaries, sports cranking up, extracurriculars. So just outside of that, all right, for everybody here, what are some things that you will do this next week? What are some things that are going to happen in your life? Yeah.
I have to start driving 75 miles round trip.
Okay, so you're going to start driving again. You're going to need, long distances to work. So 75 miles round trip. Who here has to drive this next week? Yeah, we're all going to, many of us are going to drive. All right, what else?
I'm going to have to start getting up earlier to get on with myself early to keep kids.
All right. So your wake up time's going to change. How many people have to wake up next week? Very good. All right, good job. All right. Yeah, we hope so. We hope so. What else? What else is there? Okay, yeah, you might get stuck behind a school bus, and so you have to make sure you're driving safely and all of that. So again, kind of going with that driving to work thing. Yeah. What else? Anything else that you're planning on doing this week? Yeah. Okay, you're giving somebody a ride. You're helping somebody out who might not otherwise be able to get somewhere. Very cool. How many of us have a schedule or a to-do list to help us keep track of the 60 million things that we are doing? All right. What if I were to tell you what you do this week? When you drive, when you get up earlier, when you help somebody out, when you're going to work. What if I were to tell you that what you do this week could change the world? And we might have a lot of different answers for that. Some people might say, no way, or that's crazy, or maybe anything's possible with God. And then some people might be thinking to themselves, yeah, let's do this. We all have these kind of different responses. But I don't know about you, but I'm often tempted to minimize my expectations for myself. I tend to, I don't know if anybody else does this as a Lutheran, minimize my importance and my impact and my value. And we do this by using a small word, all right? How many people have ever used the word just? I'm just a pastor. I'm just a pastor in a small town. You know who are the worst, the absolute worst at justing themselves? Moms. All right, mothers. I can't tell you how many times I'll run into a mom and they'll say, oh, I'm just a stay-at-home mom. I'm like, oh, you're just caring for and shaping the minds and bodies of small, vulnerable creatures? Yeah, that's no big deal, right? This is the trick that the world tries to play on each of us. You are just one doctor. You are just one nurse in a big hospital. You're just one student in a huge school. If we believe that we are only just, if we listen, if we buy into this lie that what we do doesn't really make a difference, that our everyday actions and our words couldn't possibly have any effect, we devalue ourselves and ignore the power that God has given to each of us. God does not create anything that is just anything, all right? God does not create small things, insignificant things. God creates things that are awesome and wonderful and beautiful. What we do, what we say is powerful and important. And you might be saying, how do we know this is true? How do we know this? And it's all right here in the Bible. The whole thing, this whole book, is a story of how important we are to God and the crucial jobs that God gives us to care for each other and care for all of creation. Notice that God does not tell the anteaters that they are in charge, that they are supposed to take care of the earth. God did not tell any ostriches that they are in charge and to watch over and manage the trees and the flowers. God did not put the humpback whales in charge of anything. It was us. What we say, what we do is important and powerful. And Jesus reminds us of this truth in today's gospel, all right? In verse 19, he says to Peter, and it's not just to Peter, it's to all of us here, and he says, I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven, and whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. Jesus tells Peter, he tells his disciples, the church, you and me, that what we do on earth matters in heaven. What we do makes a difference. What we say makes a difference. How does this make you feel? That what you do on a daily basis echoes for eternity in heaven. Are we intimidated? Are we still skeptical? Do we feel empowered? This morning, Jesus challenges his disciples to say who he truly is. And at the same time, Jesus challenges each of us to realize who we truly are. At our baptisms, we were given our true identity. With a little water, God's words promise that we are his kid, wonderfully and beautifully made, and immensely powerful and immensely important. Today, Jesus tells us that his church, you, all of us, are so powerful that Hades, hell, death, the devil cannot and will not overcome us. And that's hard to believe sometimes because a lot of times we look around and we see things that look impossible. Starving kids may look impossible. Prisons full of people may look impossible. Peace in our cities or in our world may look impossible. Racism and hatred look like they're winning. But God tells us that that is not true. This isn't the way that it has to be. God promises that evil's time, violence's reign, cruelty's power is coming to an end. And we know that God's promises are good promises. The question for all of us this morning is, will we take the risk and put ourselves out there like Peter? Peter doesn't have a great track record for getting things right, and yet still he's the guy that speaks up. He still raises his hand. Will we take the risk that our words and our actions might be important and powerful? As Christians, as church, we are all sent out to speak and live our faith. We are simply called to truthfully tell and demonstrate to others about the difference that Jesus makes in our everyday lives. I want to tell you, one of my biggest role models of my faith growing up was my mom. And I didn't always realize it because my mom's faith was just something that she did. I can remember one instance that kind of sums that up. A long time ago, some of you might remember, horrible things were happening in Cambodia. All right? And there was violence, there was war, there was suffering, and the United States and the church decided that we could help these people who were hurting. All right? And we started bringing in refugees, and the churches would support that. And we took in refugees. We took in women and children who were fearing and fleeing for their lives. I can remember being very little, and my small town and my small church took in a family of refugees. And I can remember that after working all day, my mom would pick me up from school, and we would go over to this apartment, this tiny little apartment where this family lived. And my mom would work with the whole family to help them to learn, to read, to write, to speak English. And I never thought it was a big deal. I just thought this is what you do. Didn't all moms teach refugees English, in their spare time? My mom didn't do this because she knew Cambodia. She doesn't. All right, she didn't do this because she's a perfect person. She's not. All right? My mom saw a need and acted and spoke with the power God had gifted her with as a kindergarten teacher. When we talk on the phone, sometimes I'm complaining to my mom about the evils and the problems in Uniontown, the evils and the problems in the United States, the evils and the problems in the world. And my mom still speaks it. She says, Jimmy, yes, she calls me Jimmy. She says, do something. What if it is really true? What if we are all immensely powerful? What if what we do on earth matters in heaven? So I want to ask you again, what will you do this week? What opportunities might we all have to speak and act from the truth of what Jesus has done for and first given us? How could we live out our faith at school? All right? I mean, is it possible that you might run into a bully in school and you can tell them, stop. Just stop. How could we live out our faith in our workplace? Does someone who we work with or one of our customers need to be treated with a little kindness and grace, even if they're difficult? How can we loose heaven upon Fayette County? Could we keep granola bars in our car so that if we saw a homeless person or saw somebody asking for help, we could just hand it to them? I want to invite all of us, on your schedule, in your phones this week, on your to-do list, I want us all to write, change the world, every day. A smile, a kind word, a small act of mercy might be a chance for God's love to break into somebody's life. Go in peace to love and serve the Lord. Amen.